I'm Rebecca McDonald. I'm the president and founder of Women at Risk International, which is an organization in 55 countries, and we deal with 15 different risk issues, but we're most known for our fight against human trafficking.
If one of us is slaved, then none of us are free.
There's no greater joy than seeing a man, woman, or child rescued, restored, and empowered to dream. That's what we want for our babies. That's what we do with our own children. And that's our commitment as an organization, to walk beside whoever is brought into our pathway and help them dream.
It's really just important for people to become involved in some way. It doesn't have to be something big, but every effort matters. Every effort counts. The victims of human trafficking, their voices have been silenced. They don't have a voice. And so they need you, they need us to be a voice for them, to fight for their freedom.
There's no place that is off limits. No age or race that is off limits. It is everywhere.
My name is Jen, and this means war.
My name is Angel, and this means war.
My name is Lauren, and this means war.
My name is Joe, and this means war.
Who I am doesn't matter. This means war.
All right, perfect. Never used one of these before. Let's see. Awesome. All right, so my name is Liz, and I'm an ambassador for Women at Risk International. I'm also a mother of two amazing little boys, and I am a survivor of human trafficking. So I am talking to you today as someone who's actually lived through it here in America, and so I can tell you it is very close to home. It's not just something that happens in third world countries. It's something that's happening in every city, in every state in the country. And not only is it happening, but what we can actually do about it. How does this fall into the church? How does it make sense for us to be a part of this problem? So Women at Risk International, our mission is to unite and educate, creating circles of protection around those at risk through culturally sensitive, value-added intervention projects. The main takeaway is that we create circles of protection. We don't pick and choose who we create those circles around. You could be a man, a woman, a child, 80 years old. We are going to circle you with protection. It's not something that's just fought in America or just overseas. It's everywhere. So when I used to tell people, we work in over 60 countries, including the US, I really wanted people to understand that trafficking happens in America. But very recently, someone said, why are you going on a mission trip to Thailand? People here need help, not over there. They don't need help. Those people don't need help. And that really bothered me. And I get it, like if they've never gone on a mission trip and haven't seen it for themselves, that how can they feel connected to that person over there? But in Matthew 28, Jesus says, therefore make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. We're all God's children. Whether I'm Thai or I'm American, I'm still God's child. And he calls us to love everyone. We don't get to pick and choose, well, I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to sit next to them at church because they don't look right. Or, something else. So that is the biggest takeaway for me, that Women at Risk literally helps whoever comes in our path. We are faith-based, but we don't shove that down people's throats. We welcome you in, and they see the love of Jesus through what we do. We don't have to tell them. They see it. All right. So war was started by Rebecca McDonald, and she grew up in Bangladesh as a child. Her father was a doctor, and so she grew up in a country where women are not treated quite the same as they are in America. And she had a friend, and at 14, her friend was attacked. I don't need to say what happened. We can assume what happened. Well, her friend didn't like that happened, and she spoke out against it. And she said, this is wrong. You shouldn't have done that. And they threw acid in her, down her throat. Now, usually they would put it in their face, but they put it down her throat to silence her. So it would ruin her vocal cords, and she would never be able to speak out against it again. So Rebecca McDonald, she said, this is wrong. This is so wrong. And so that is why she started Women at Risk International, because of what happened to her friend. And now we work in over 60 countries. We have over 300 programs, and you're going to hear a little bit about what those programs are. But basically, we don't just help people get out of a bad situation. We give them a way to stay out of that situation and make generational change. So instead of just the mom's having a hard time and help the mom, you've helped the mom and the kids and the grandma and the aunts. It's generational change. So we fight 15 different areas of risk, but we're most known for our fight against human trafficking. Reason is because human trafficking is the fastest growing arm of crime, more than drugs or anything else, because you can sell a person over and over and over, whereas drugs, you sell them once and that's it. You could make $1 million tax-free off of 2 to 4 girls a year. That if you want to put a number on it. That's sadly the statistics. Every 30 seconds, someone is trafficked in America, or not in America, but around the world. So that's 120 people an hour. So by the time we go and have lunch, about 300 people have been trafficked. And so the question today, as you hear me talk and you hear me talk about different areas that we do, think about, is God telling you a specific spot that, hey, that sounds like something I could do, or that sounds like an area I could help in. Maybe you have a career that is specific to that type of thing. Everyone has a part in this, whether you're a grandma and all you know how to do is knit and invite people over for cookies. Let me tell you, that was one of the biggest healings for me as a survivor, was getting to go and make cookies with this old lady I knew, because I was just loved. And so sometimes that's all it takes, is just to love people. If you're a man, you have a huge role in this. My husband, he works with cars. He's a car detailer. And how many men he has talked to, because they're all like, on Friday nights, they're like, oh, we're going to the strip club or whatever. He is able to talk to them, and he's able to talk to them and say what those actually entail, what actually goes on there. And he's able to say it as a man. And whether women we like it or not, the weight of what a man says holds weight more than a girl. Like, a girl says, stop talking like that. We just sound catty, right? But if a man steps up and said, you stop that, men listen to men. And so no matter who you are or what age you are, you have a role in this. So I started, my story started in 2004. I went on a mission trip to Thailand, and I was working in orphanages, but the most memorable was when I went to the red light district. They took us through the red light district, and for those that don't know, is basically where girls are just standing on the corner in their underwear, and people go and can buy them for sex. 80% of American men that travel to Thailand travel to go to the red light district. It's on their list to do. You can get on Google and find 14 different ways to buy a prostitute in Thailand. I mean, it can be someone's a certain age, somebody has a certain skin color, someone, some of it's based on what kind of food you can get while you're purchasing your women. Some of them will wear numbers depending on if they're like lower quality girls. They're called discount girls. And it's sad that there's these labels, and like that's the amount that they get labeled down to is literally a price tag. That's why a lot of times a sign of trafficking is a tattoo. It's either a barcode or a property of tattoo. And it's literally to say, you are the property of your pimp. And when they're done with you, that's who the money goes to. Or they scan you in like a piece of meat. And yeah, that's happening in Thailand, but it's also happening in America. So when I was on this trip, I met this little girl who was my age, 14. We took her to dinner. We had to pay to take her off her street corner, though. So we had to take our little Thai money and give it to our translator. Had no idea how much we gave the translator because I didn't know the exchange rate. So we took her to dinner for an hour, and we're trying to tell her, we have a safe house. We have a safe place we can take you. You don't have to live like this anymore. But she didn't want to hear it. She didn't understand. But she did understand my bracelet. I had a yarn bracelet that I had made back home. You know how kids just braid yarn sometimes. And I asked my translator, I said, why does she keep looking at my bracelet? She's like, well, she thinks it's beautiful. I was like, oh, well, she can have it. So I took it off and handed it to her. And when I handed it to her, her face just like lit up, and she started dancing around with this bracelet. Like I had just given her $1 million, and I was like, it's $2. It wasn't that big of a deal. So it broke my heart. She didn't understand. She didn't believe us that we could take her from this horrible place. So we had to take her back to her street corner. But this time the trafficker was not happy because she came back smiling. She was so happy about this bracelet. She came back and she was like glowing. And I didn't understand why. It was just a bracelet. And her trafficker was really upset, and he started arguing with our translator, and she's like, we have to go. And he kept pointing at me, and I was like, what did I do? And she's like, we have to go right now, and you're not allowed to come back. I said, why? And she's like, it's the bracelet. And I said, it was just a bracelet. And she said, no, you gave her an identity. The bracelet was her identity because it showed her that she was loved. That little girl had never been told she was loved. Nobody ever gave her anything. She never had a little dolly, right? This was her life, her whole life, and somebody gave her something that they made, and that meant something. And the only thing that was stronger than what that trafficker had was hope. And deep down, who gives us our identity? Jesus gives us our identity. I gave her a piece of what Jesus needed her to have. And I knew then that I was going to fight trafficking. I didn't know how. And I thought, I'm going to adopt a little girl from here one day. I'm going to take her to America, and I'm going to give her a home. And I don't believe that Jesus was the only one there in the red light district that day. I also believe Satan was there, and he heard that call on my life. Because 3 years later, I was trafficked in America. I had moved away from home. I lived 4 hours from anybody that I knew. I worked at a corporate job. It was my boss. He knew me for 6 months. Everybody said they knew him. He was legit. He was a manager at a corporate office. But the first date that we went on, he took me to a hotel, and there was 10 other men there. And basically, I was initiated into their little trafficking ring. And that was my life for 2 years. And during that time, I had went to the police, and they didn't help me. And I went to a church. I jumped out of the window of this guy's house, of the room he had locked me in. Ran barefoot. I stole his car. I drove to the first church that I saw. It happened to be a Sunday morning. My mom always told me, if you're ever in trouble, you go to the church and they will help you. And I went to the front doors of this church. There was 2 men in suits. And I was like, perfect. It's men. Of course they're going to help me. And I'm literally running, if you can just picture this, barefoot with a mini skirt. And I was like, I have to get in the church. I have to talk to the pastor. And they shut the doors in my face and crossed their arms. And they said, you can't go in. And I was panicking. And I was like, I didn't know if this guy was following me. And I was like, I have to get in and talk to someone. I just need to talk to someone. And they said, you're not dressed for church. You don't belong here. And so whenever I talk to churches, I share that story because I say, if someone walked to your front doors this morning, would you let them in the doors? And if you do, what do you do then? Right? Obviously, we have to be safe about things because nowadays you don't know if someone's trying to get into your church for a bad reason. But have protocols in place. Have something. Maybe you have men here that are law enforcement or used to be in law enforcement that could start that conversation, figure out what's going on. Because somebody could have met me at the door and said, hey, what's going on? Here, we'll help you get to the police. We'll help you call your parents. We'll help you get help. Right? They could have put me in a Sunday school room and had a woman come talk to me if the men didn't feel comfortable talking to me. That's what I'm saying. Every person has a role in this. Whether you are law enforcement or you're a social worker or a homeschool mom, you all have a place in this. What I needed right there was a hug and to know that I was safe. And I didn't feel safe at that church. They wouldn't even let me in the doors. And so because they didn't, I was in that life for 2 years. And if they could have just let me in the doors, I wouldn't have been. And then, so I ended up eventually, because they were threatening my family, right? So I couldn't call my parents. And they didn't just say, we'll hurt your parents. They said how they would do it, what weapons they would use, how many pieces they would chop them into, different things like that. All in America, by the way. So if we think this is just third world country stuff, it happens in America. So this was what I looked like before. And in one day, that's what I looked like. And you can see how miserable I look. And yeah, it's makeup, but it's more than that. I had to change my hairstyle. I had to change my hair color, my makeup, everything. I had to not have friends at all. I had to completely isolate myself from everybody I knew because that's what they forced me to do. And then you go to the church, and then they don't help you, and the police don't help you. But after 2 long years, I ended up, I think I just kind of lost my mind, and I said, I'm going to run into the woods, and I'm either going to bang my head against a tree or call my dad. So I called my dad at 4 in the morning, and I said, I need you to come get me right now. And he drove 4 hours, and he came and got me. He didn't ask any questions. He didn't ask why I was calling at 4 in the morning. But dads, if your daughter calls you at 4 in the morning, you go and get them. And he doesn't know, and I mean, I think last year, this has been 15 years now, I don't think he knew until last year exactly what he saved me from. But he took me to another state where these traffickers wouldn't follow me. And he gave me a safe house to stay. And I stayed with my parents. I slept on their couch. And that is what so many of these girls need. And a lot of them are either sold by their parents or don't have parents that will take them back. We have a story of a girl that was trafficked that her parents said, oh, that's your fault. Where do they go? What do they do? That's why safe houses are so important. That's why giving these women something to do to make money, the statistic is 80 or 90% will end up right back trafficked if you don't give them another way to make money. That's why when we sell product, it's so important. So fast forward, I got married to an amazing husband who accepted me through everything I had went through, and we started a clothing line. Unfortunately, people weren't ready for the clothing line because I had a lot of words to say. Put them on the shirts, people didn't get it. People were like, you have to explain it to us. We don't just understand these words you're using. Like, this was never your fault. What was never your fault? Any survivor that read it understood it. But we found out that my speaking made more of a difference than the clothes. And so I was asked to share my story at this radio station in New York. Women at Risk International was also at this event, which is where I met Rebecca McDonald. And that's when we connected. They hired me on to speak for them, and that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years. So that is how we got connected with Women at Risk. Through them, I have started a program called STAND, and it's for children 5 to 10-year-olds and 11 to 17-year-olds. And it's designed to teach kids about really hard topics like trafficking, pornography, how to have safe relationships, but it's age appropriate, right? I can't tell my 5-year-old son what RAPE is, right? But I can tell him what is safe, what doesn't feel safe. When do you not feel safe, and who do you tell when you don't feel safe? Because that's what it all comes down to, feeling safe or not feeling safe. We don't have to use the big words. They don't have to know the body parts. They have to know what does safe feel like, because no one can heal until they feel safe. So, with that, let's see what's next. And that's it. And if you have any questions about that, I have that information at my table. All right, so what does Women at Risk do? We rescue, yes, but our main focus is restoration, aftercare, healing, because like we said, 80 to 90% will end up right back where they were if we don't give them another way to make money. So yes, we've rescued 15 girls from the red light district. Now what? Maybe they were there their whole life. And then what? Like they don't have family, they don't have a place to go, and in a lot of these countries, if you don't have family, you have nothing, right? If you don't have that male to lean on, then you don't have anything. So we have 3 different types of products, which is also the 3 types of ways that we fight trafficking. Preventative. So this is made by at-risk women. So what that would be is people that are at risk of being trafficked. Let's say there's an orphanage, true story, and they train these girls up to get jobs in the red light district. They teach them as soon as you get off the bus stop when you've aged out of the program, because nobody wanted you anyways, you're going to take the first job somebody gives you. So they'll call the traffickers and say, I have 2 girls arriving at 4 on the bus, pick them up. So they get off the bus, they were doing what they're told, and they end up right in the red light district. So they go from one bad situation their whole life to another bad situation their whole life. They do nothing else. And so we have partners in those places that stand at that same bus stop, right next to the traffickers. So when those girls get off that bus, they intervene and they say, hey, you want to come make jewelry? We're going to give you another way to make money. And they stand in the gap for those people. And that's what we're supposed to do. We stand in the gap between us and Satan, right? Because some of these people, they don't know that there's a God that loves them. And then they get to stay in the safe house. So those products are preventative. Now, curative are products made by rescued men and women. Those are ones that we've literally pulled out of trafficking. And we need to give them a way to make money right now. And so a lot of our products are made that way. And then we have supportive, so books and things like that, speaking events, things like we're doing right now. There is a book that we have on our website from Teresa Flores. She was trafficked in high school by another boy in high school. So it's not just adults traffic adults or kids, whatever. It's kids trafficking kids, all the different things. There is no age off limits. There was a 6-month-old baby that was being raped online, and people were paying to watch it, and that was in America. And I was in New York, and there was an 80-year-old woman being trafficked right in town. Like, there literally is no age off limit. There's categories that people, there's an opportunity, people will use it. I want someone this age, I want someone that looks like this. So it's not just, well, you're blonde and you have light skin, so you're a victim, you'll be trafficked. No, because they could change your hair. They changed my hair, my face, my name. It doesn't matter what you look like. There's a category for it. All right, so these sheep, anyone can fight trafficking in any age. So every $300 of product that we sell puts a woman in a safe house for a month. Now, I told you that I wanted to adopt a girl from Thailand when I was 14. My family did do that. However, because of COVID, it took 3 years longer to get her. And in that 3 years, nobody came in and out of that orphanage to check on those kids. And because of the age of my child, she had to be with the older kids and learned a lot of bad things. And a lot of bad things happened to her, as in lots of men would visit her at the orphanage. So when we got her, we learned what happens when the kids don't get rescued in time. And because of that, unfortunately, she no longer matched our home study, and we had to rehome her into a family that had no kids, that had 2 parents, that had social work degrees, to care for the level of trauma that this child is now going to have to go through her rest of her life. And it was the hardest decision our family ever had to do, because I loved that little girl and I waited 15 years to get her. And these little sheep, I told my son, I was like, I want you to sell these sheep because we're going to put a little girl in a safe house. And he knew his sister had to go to one. And he's like, I have to sell 300 sheep, I can do that. And I said, no, just $300 in the sheep. So I think he had to sell like 40 of them or something. And he did it in 2 weeks. He did videos on Facebook. He went door to door. He passed them around church. And he's like, you need to buy this sheep because I need to put a little girl in a safe house like I put my sister in one. And he was 5 years old. He understood the concept of a safe place, a safe house. He doesn't need to understand everything that happened to her, but he understands, Mama, why was she so sad? Why didn't she understand? I told that little girl, I love you, and she just looked at me like I was stupid, and I was like, do you know what I said? And she's like, I've never been told that before. She had never been told that she was loved. She was 6 years old, and I don't know of any 6-year-old that's never been told that they were loved by even a stranger, right? Surely a stranger would even tell someone that they love them. And that's just the level. And so if you think about it, she was 6. These girls growing up, so when I met that girl at 14, well, no wonder she wouldn't come to the safe house with us. No wonder me giving her a bracelet meant the world to her. Somebody actually cared enough to even see her. Okay, now these are frogs. I'm not showing pictures of survivors because I wasn't sure which ones I was allowed to share publicly. So I'm just going to show you the products that they make. This girl is a widower, and So like I said, in other countries, if you don't have that male, you don't have family, you're stuck, because women don't make as much as men, and you don't have a place to go. You just don't have the same privileges. And so she had children. She didn't know what she was going to do. So she's like, well, I can carve things, and I'm going to make some frogs. So she went to the market, because she's like, I refuse to go to the red light district. I will not do it. So she carved these frogs. She took them to the market. And if you can imagine, like a New York City, so like in Bangkok, Thailand, it's like that. It's very busy, so loud, buses or whatever. Our partners were in the same market that day, and they heard in the market this girl playing these frogs. And through all of the noise, they heard those frogs, and it led them directly to her. And they took her into the safe house with her children, and now we sell these frogs for her. And we're going to talk about divine appointments, and God will bring you. If you ask him, he will bring people into your life that you can help. That day, God specifically brought our partners to that woman. There is no way through that crowd that they would have heard that frog. But it was just literally like they were calling. And that's why I love to share that story. I just think it's so cool. All right, Pearls of Hope. These are one of our signature pieces. We've actually had them valued for over $1,000 here. We sell them for like $82. They're real freshwater pearls. Now these, we talked about 14 different ways someone can be prostituted in Thailand, right? One of them is minor marriages. So someone that's forced into being married before they're 18. And so this one girl she had kids, and then the guy left her with $100,000 in debt. And in Thailand, that may as well have been $1 million. So what is a mom to do? Except go to the red light district with the children, right? So War helped her, and now she made what's called Pearls of Hope, which is this huge organization, micro enterprise, and a lot of our stuff is from that Pearls of Hope. And not only did she get out, but she brought others out, and she's bringing others out and providing them a way to make money. So it's not just one person coming back in, because me as an American, I can go into the red light district and talk to you today, or I lived it with you, and now I'm going to come back and say, hey, come make jewelry with me. You're going to more likely go with the person you know, the one who knows who you know, right? You trust them. I need a volunteer. Okay. Yeah, I need you to come up here. Oh, okay. I did. Okay. It's okay. All right. It was the guy behind you. Do you want to come up? Okay. All right. This is one of our necklaces. Is it heavy? No. Okay. You are holding someone's life in your hand. You are carrying the weight of someone's life. Okay. But their life is heavy. And now this is their daughter. And now they've rescued the aunt. And now they've rescued grandma. She's literally carrying lives in her hand. The Bible talks to us about carrying each other's burdens. When you buy a necklace, you're not just buying a necklace, you're buying into someone's life. You are wearing this so they don't have to bear being trafficked, right, in the red light district. So this is the whole family here. Now this is about $300 worth of product, which would put a woman in a safe house for a month. 4 necklaces, right? And when you wear it, it's not just, I'm wearing a necklace, right? If someone asks you, where's that necklace come from, you're going to have a whole story now to tell them. It's more than just product. It's wearing someone's life, and you can pray for them, and you know where they're from. Because on the back of every product, we'll tell you where it's from, and our website will tell you the story behind it. So we don't just sell things to sell things. It literally changes their life. Okay. Thank you. All right, so these will be on our product table in the back. Well, you want to hold them? You take up your seat. Yeah, we'll put them back on the table or something. All right, ornaments. So we do a thing called the ornament campaign every year. Why are the ornaments important? The ornaments are hand glass blown ornaments from Egypt. Because in the Middle East, it's very hard to get access to the women there, because sometimes they can't even come out of the house. When I was Trafficked. A lot of the groups I was around was that way, and I was kind of part of that. I wasn't allowed to leave the house, right? And so to even try to get help if you're in trouble, it's very hard. And so we work with the men. We take the shops where the men make the ornaments, so it gives us access to their women. And so it's just another way around being able to get to people that are unreachable. And so that's why I think that is so cool. Not to mention our ornaments are really cool. We have like giraffes and different things. Pretty much anything you want in ornament, we have. All right, so this is just some ways to get involved. Now, you can volunteer for Women at Risk. We're in Granville, which is about an hour and a half from here. We have a headquarters there that if you ever wanted to go, you don't have to be an adult. You can take like a youth group there or whatever. You just call them up and say, hey, we have some people that want to come volunteer. They'll help, they might have you price things or whatever they need help with. So volunteering is one way. Hosting a pop-up is a really cool thing. So all the products I have back there, we could send to you to do at a party. Maybe you have a conference that you're doing, or there's a Christmas convention in town and you want to do one. We would send you a box of product for free. You don't have to pay for shipping. You set it up, you sell the things, you ship it all back, and it's free. We pay for the shipping both ways, but all the money goes directly to the women. Over 90% of all proceeds go right back into the programs, because we want to guarantee that they stay out of the red light district. And they don't just get paid per piece or per hour. They get paid more than what a man gets paid. We don't just pay them like the minimal whatever. They get paid what a man gets paid, so they can actually support themselves without one. And they get medical, they get a house, they get job training if they need it. Some of these girls, if maybe they don't have anything to put on a resume. If all you've ever done was the red light district, what do you put on a resume? Right? Maybe you're in the wrong country. We have a lot of people in our U.S. training program. So at headquarters, we have a program for U.S. survivors. And so I train girls there to make some of these products, like the tea diffusers and the spa products. Those are all made at our U.S. training center. So we have U.S. survivors, all sorts. And what we're doing is we're training others. And then a lot more things are becoming survivor-led because these girls have lived it. They know what's missing. They know what doesn't make sense with the laws and different things. And that's why a lot of things now are getting pushed through, like more police training and things like that. So now if I went to the police now, I'd probably have more of a chance of getting help than I did back when it was happening to me. We already talked about how men can be helping this problem, and I think really it comes down to you have to understand that over 90% of girls that are in prostitution don't want to do that. In strip clubs and whatnot, they did a study that someone who was a prostitute, stripper, whatever, had as much PTSD as someone that was in the army. They are in constant, fight mode, right? They're the whole fight and flight thing. They are constantly like this. And even if they decided hey, I'm gonna go into this to make a little bit of money, a lot of times it ends up I didn't sign up for that. Well, no, now you owe me. Now it's guilt, now it's this, now it's that. So just because, I had a 17-year-old girl say, I wanna be a prostitute because they make a lot of money. Okay, I don't know where they got that, but I was like, where did you hear that? Why are our teenagers talking like that? Well, I have a nice body. Right, but you don't want to sell yourself. And I think it's just the message to the culture. Everything that's on TV, everything is just pushing. What do you look like? You have to look like these people. All the Academy Awards shows used to be gowns, right? Beautiful gowns, and used to like to watch them. But now it's who can wear the least amount or who can go naked. And that's because that's what's getting views. That's what's getting liked. And so when our teenagers look at that, that's what's popular. That's what gets attention. That's what shows love. And so if our men could actually act like men and show love in a different way, because of your personality or because what you do. There is so much we can do with that. And then give to rescue. So that, I mean, that's giving your time, giving to doing a pop-up, buying product. Like you could give us money, yes, but when you buy a product, you're showing that that product sells, and so we buy more from that person. So we buy these in bulk, and we give them the money up front so they can do their micro enterprise. But if we can't sell these, we're out the money, not them. So if somebody buys $300 in these frogs, that shows we need to buy more frogs. We're selling a lot of these frogs. So that's why selling the product is so important. Because I'll have a lot of guys be like, here's a 20, I don't like jewelry. Well, you might have someone who likes jewelry. Maybe you have the women in your family. Also, my dad is a bus driver, and he likes our keychains. We have these wooden keychains. Puts them on his keychain, so when he walks into work, he throws them on the desk, waiting for people to say, cool keychain, where'd you get it? Oh, let me tell you about it. And he's a dad, he's 60-something, right? So even 60-year-old men have a place in this. And he can talk about where the keychain came from and why it was made and why it's important for them to have one. So just because you don't like jewelry, we have keychains and books and things like that. Something for everybody. So just with, let me see. Okay, that was the last one. So just with trafficking in general, just the thing to remember is it's not one-sided. This is not a man problem. 60% of trafficking is women. 60% of women do the trafficking. This is not a man problem, it's a heart problem. And it just comes down to, what are we feeding our life with? What kind of music are we listening to? What kind of movies are we watching? What kind of apps are we using, right? Do we constantly use Snapchat or Instagram? Are we constantly, I need this, I need this, I need this? And are we not focusing on what we need to be focusing on? 3% of trafficking is kidnapping. That's it. 95% of traffickers or trafficking, they think they know their trafficker. 95%. Number one trafficker is a family member. Number two is a fake boyfriend or girlfriend. So in my situation, it was a guy pretending to be my boyfriend. Someone that I thought I knew. And I thought I knew him because I knew him for 6 months. Can you imagine? A lot of people go on a date with someone before 6 months. I did everything by the book, and it still happened. And so, and then I did it. I went to the police. I went to the church, right? None of those people helped me. And so we can't cast judgment on people either. You never know someone's story. We talked about the little girl we had to rehome because, unfortunately, I wasn't the best mother for her. I wasn't what she needed. And so I had to make the hardest decision of my life to put her with a mother who knew how to take care of this little girl. And I got so much backlash for that. I would never do that. I would never do that. Well, we need to take our arrogance and say, hey, you know what? Everyone's walking a different path. Everybody here has grown up differently, and their experiences will affect how they make decisions. We can both be at a red light, and it turns green and go different ways, right? And so, but you can also take, whether it was a mistake in your past or something that happened maybe that shouldn't have happened, you take it and you learn from it, and you use it. So there was I love this story. He was a bank robber, and so he went to jail. He gets out of jail, and he's like, I can't get a real job because I'm a felon or whatever. And he's like, well, I'll be a tattoo artist. So he's a tattoo artist because he's really good at art. And he actually has a program where he covers up survivors' tattoos for free. I told you that a lot of times they'll have their barcode or the property of tattoo. So they get rescued, but every time they look in the mirror, they are reminded, I was property. I'm property, I'm property. So he'll take those tattoos and he'll cover them up with a flower or make them into something different. Dude's a felon, and he's taking a gift that God gave him, and he's changing these girls' lives in a way that nobody else could. Nobody else had that ability to be able to take those types of tattoos and do that, or have the skill to do tattoos, because that's just weird. Not weird, but not common. And so everything that you go through in your life, good or bad, God can use it. He can bring it into light, whether it's an experience you had that now you can relate to somebody else, and you can say, hey, you're not a horrible person. I went through the same thing, and here's what God got me through on that. That's what he taught me to do. And so I hope that you pray for divine appointments, because God will really lead you to the right people at the right time. My husband, I met him, we were working at Sam's Club, and at that point in my life I wasn't healing very well because I was just mad and I had no friends. And he wanted to go on a date with me, and I said, you need a haircut. That was the first thing I ever said to him. And I said, and you also need a different pair of pants because those jeans are ugly. So I didn't know that he went to the store and bought brand new jeans, the kind I told him to get. He got a haircut. And the next day he comes up, he's like, do you like my jeans? And I was like, yep. And I walked away. Didn't even look at him. It's amazing how we ended up being married. But he pursued me, and he kept reaching out, and he kept pushing. And then I remember I don't know if anybody's ever been to Cincinnati, but we were sitting at the water, and I was looking at the water, and he was sitting behind me, and he's like, I really want to date you. And I was like, well, you just ruined everything. I'm not going to date you. He's like, why? And so I told him everything that happened. I said, you don't want to date me because I'm broken or whatever and all this stuff. And he gets up, and I thought he was going to leave me, and I would have to find a way to get home. And I'm like already trying to figure out how to do Uber because I don't know how. And he got up, and he gave me a hug from behind, and he said, this was never your fault. And those words are what started the clothing line that we did. The words were, this was never your fault. Because sometimes things in life just happen. God, if God loved me, that wouldn't happen. Sometimes things just happen. And it's what we do with those things. And my husband has been such a huge part of my healing that now we travel all across the country with our kids. We're going to Thailand in February, of all things, and we're going to fight trafficking over there as a family. We are self-supporting missionaries. So if anybody has any questions about what that is, I have portfolios at my table. But basically, we travel all over. In the summer, my dad travels with me, which is cool because he talks about the keychains. And yeah, so it's cool that our whole family has become a part of it, and we've all kind of found our voice within it. Like, yes, what happened to me sucks, I'm not going to lie. But the good that has came from it, the people I have been able to talk to that no one else would have been able to talk to, because I can say I've lived that, and I've came out on the other side, which is why they wanted me to go on the trip to Thailand, because the founder, she says, these girls in Thailand, they think this only happens to them. If they knew an American, someone because they think all Americans are rich, but someone in America that's happened to? No way. And then it gives them hope, and to see that I am married and I have 2 kids and I'm okay, gives them hope. And hope is the only thing that's stronger than what that darkness has. So with that, we're going to pray. God, thank you so much for this time that I have had today to talk about this really hard topic. I pray that everybody here has heard something that has spoken to them specifically. Maybe they have more questions, and I hope that they keep pursuing that and just give everyone a way to have a voice, whether it's in this or something else. Give us divine appointments to talk to people that we can be a blessing to and others can be a blessing to us. Let us accept that and not be too proud to take that blessing, and let everyone just really enjoy the rest of the day and be able to celebrate together just the great day that it is. This is an amazing church. I haven't been to a church that everyone has smiled at me before, and it was just great to be around great people and with such giving hearts. Even to the songs that we sang about loving the nations, help us not be too proud to love even the least of these, or if someone came to our church, please let us not be the ones that shut the door in their face. Let us know that we're going to do everything we can to help those people. And we pray this all in your name. Amen.